Hi, good to see you, Rupert. Because I've been wrestling with the idea of trauma. I'm a trauma therapist, and I kind of live in the language of soul. That's been the language for years. And I ended up being sent your video on trauma, and I watched a YouTube about it. And it was so illuminating because it's so true. The trauma is lodged and hidden in the body. And so it's a direct kind of this motion of how awareness totally is the healing field.
Yes.
And yet there's all this motion of love and resource, and there's just all of these things. And you illuminate that and live that so beautifully. Thank you, with everything you meet here. And it's just so beautiful. So okay, but I did have some questions and the essential questions are about this relationship between soul and awareness. And so when I watched the YouTube, you did describe the soul as being the deepest level in our
Of the
personal
mind. Of the mind, yes.
of the mind, in the personal mind, and that it was unique and individual for a being, and that it informs the waking state.
Yes.
But it doesn't appear in the waking state.
Yes.
Okay, so informs the waking state, but doesn't appear in the waking state, and it's not spirit.
When I refer to the soul, and it's a more traditional use of the word soul, it's the deeper layers of the personal psyche. If the mind is like an iceberg, if the individual mind is like an iceberg, it's not a very good metaphor for this, it's obviously very limited, but if the individual mind is like an iceberg in the ocean, made of the ocean, the waking state mind is just that part of the iceberg that it appears above the water. Everything else is below and out of view. So the soul would be that part of the mind that is out of view in the waking state. We don't have access to it in the waking state. It expresses itself in our dreams, because the waking state mind relaxes, and that allows the deeper layer of the mind, the soul, to come up.
So I'm a Jungian. So is that the personal unconscious?
If by unconscious you mean
subconscious,
what we are not aware of or conscious of in the waking state, it is unconscious in the sense that we are not conscious of it in the waking state. It is still part of the mind, but it is just it is obscured by the bright light of the waking state. So if you were to now start to meditate, and you were to relax very deeply, and you were to allow, in the waking state, you were allowed the habitual thoughts, feelings, sensations and perceptions that characterize the waking state to subside, you would find that in the waking state, the deeper layers of your mind would rise to the surface as they do in the dream state. You can do that in meditation in the waking state if you want to. So they're only unconscious in the sense that we are not aware of them or do not have access to them under normal conditions in the waking state. Normally the waking state has to relax at night in a dream, and then the deeper layers of the mind begin to surface. So let's agree on that, at least provisionally, as a definition of the soul. Now, what is your question about the soul?
Okay, so what I'm hearing, and just want to make sure I've got it. So the soul is almost like the darker, not seen, like the darker places that come in dreams, and also
yes, it's what we're not conscious of during the waking state. Yeah.
Okay, so why? Okay, so that actually answers one of the questions, which is why can't it be known by the waking state? Because of the definition of it. So then, why or what is it if it's not spirit? And you know what my real question
spirit
is?
It just means consciousness. It is consciousness. It's the activity. Everything is consciousness. The iceberg is made of the water in which it appears. It's not pure spirit because it has content. It's not pure consciousness because there is content to it. But that content is made out of consciousness. Everything that appears in consciousness is made of content of consciousness, but it's not pure consciousness because it has some form to it.